I know. It was a good conversation.
I know. So it's like we did get caught up with this. You know, it's like, just moved from Grand Valley back to Overland Park. And I'm like, how is it silly? When I'm by myself navigating, just in a new territory. And I hadn't been to the zoo in 30 years. I think the kids were young last time I was down. So I didn't like it. And it's like, no, there's places that just don't know. And, didn't want to, we said this in 16th Street, trying to figure out all the instructions we wrote down that they were suggesting. And all these things. So I feel like I'm so good. They have everything over there.
It's not scary. It's just like, what the hell? You can
Yeah.
still hear it.
Challenges and having fun. And that, somebody told me about a movie that's really good that they recommended they thought I'd like. And I haven't been to a movie in forever. I don't even remember the last one I've been to. And when I was single, I did it all the time. That was one of my social things. And it's been years. I don't know if you have to make
Hopefully the movie won't like that. It's here in the mail.
yeah,
That
that
Opening
opening
Doors.
doors.
Oh, yeah, I heard that thing. I did too.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
haven't, but I
yeah.
hope to see it.
And somebody that knows me well says if something I would like it, I
Yeah,
probably will. That kind of thing. Okay.
thank you, dear. We're
So,
gonna try.
gonna try.
We'll do our best. So
You always
it'll be good. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We'll see. Doesn't look like it's gonna be a big problem. But we still have to try. Hi. Hi.
I don't.
How are you? Good. Very well, thank you. Good evening. You want your position back on the COC? I'll give it back in time.
I've been certified here.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm following your example, so I'm looking at your stuff.
Oh, good.
The Board of Supervisors report this year is probably verbatim.
One thing I try to emphasize is not just sales manager. I went back a few years ago and pointed out that
I know, I look back at the years and I thought, my God, these are going to be 7 years on it now.
yeah, I mean, I try to make it very fun and not take emphasis on the job. So, for the sales person, I should expect
You've left a good trail. He was helping you with that.
I know there are only two of you, and this is really silly, but we have to draw to see who's whatever it is, it needs to be the same. I know. I have to say hi to Helen. Because I will tell you so they don't think I Thank you. And I was telling her, I'm hi. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. This is our president. Joanne Landry. No, it is a form. You're asked a question, you have to answer the question, and then you say something that's all there is. Just a minute. All right, so it doesn't matter where you are. Number one, we'll have opening.
I got your Jane running instead of me, so you could introduce And it's Helen and Polly and
No, Polly's not going to do it. She said she's leaving. It's going to be Helen and Savannah.
and Savannah.
People raise their hands and give them cards.
Oh, what is her last name?
Oh, in here. Well, get put your stuff somewhere. Hang on. I've got my purse over there.
Hi, Mary Jane. Good to see you. Hi. No. Has what on it? Oh, those are called, I don't know about the issues, but about the candidates.
I don't think there are pencils. I've not papers. I've got more cards.
To take them off. Good evening. Hello? I'll tell you in a minute. Right now, I have to say that anyone who's here who has a shirt or something on that shows a political party, a candidate, an issue, needs to take that off, turn it inside out, go get a shirt and put something over it, please. This is a nonpartisan event. They're not taking, well, I wouldn't take the San Francisco shirt off either. That's my favorite city in the world. Right? I'm too close? Okay, so we're going to start. I want to welcome you all here tonight to the League of Women Voters of Western Nevada County Forum. We're entertaining tonight here by our candidates for Nevada County's Board of Supervisors District 1 race. And we're happy to have our candidates here tonight and happy to see such a great turnout here also. Thank you for being here. I'm not sure how this is working. I feel like I'm scooted over here to the left. I don't know what to do about this. I might have to stand here. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. Need to tell you that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. It does not support or oppose candidates or parties. We do have two arms of League. We have a citizens education arm and we have an active action arm, and both of those are nonpartisan. No matter what we do this in a nonpartisan sense. So tonight's event comes under the citizen education arm. I want to thank Helen Williamson and Andy Witt, who are voter service co-chairs, for putting tonight's event together. They did a great job in getting all this set up, and it's so nice to see a big crowd here. I thought you all might be at the ERC dinners, but you're not, and thank you for not being there and being here instead. I do want to mention that the League of Women Voters has many members, new members this year, and I have to say that they're reaching out, we are reaching out to younger people to become members and they want to be involved in civic duties and so on. And as a result, we have a young member that has just joined. Her name is Savannah Green. She's a 10th grader at Nevada Union High School. Here she is, and she's one of our runners tonight. Thank you, Savannah, for being here. It's really nice. So we are getting into the younger generation, and we're getting them just all set up for the next 4 years, and then the 4 years after that, so that we know these people. We're going to be in good hands, let me tell you. Our timers tonight are Leo Portis and Carol Cruthora. They will be timing our candidates tonight, and I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. Our runners, our league president, Joanne Marie, wherever she is. And thank you, Joanne. And Savannah is also running, also screening our questions, too, which is really a good thing, and I'll tell you about that also. And so we need to have some ground rules tonight. And so this is what we're going to do. I'll tell you about this. As mentioned earlier, our audience questions will be written on cards. And they're being distributed. The cards are being distributed by various members here. And if you want one, hold your hand up. They'll bring you a card. When you want it picked up, hold it up. They'll come get it, okay? Address questions so that the candidates, both candidates, can answer them. Don't just aim them at one person. They're going to be general questions, or they're going to answer them anyway, no matter how you address them. It's going to be, they're both going to answer these questions. Make them as brief as possible, and no personal questions, please. That's not allowed. And runners will also pick those up. Again, raise your hand. We have a media panel. Well, we have two of our media panel here. We have from the union, we have Alan Rakelme. I'm sorry, Alan. I messed that up. I said it right the first time with you, and then I just messed it up, of the union. And we have Pascal of Ubinet. Steve Baker from KVMR was scheduled to be here. KNCO could not be here tonight due to their understaffing this week. They have several employees that are out and about. The forum is being televised live by NCTV on Channel 17 cable and on the internet, nevadacountytv.org. And it's also being videotaped so that it can be replayed later, and it's being done by John Monroe of NCTV. The timers are two that I just introduced you to. We'll keep the candidates within the time frame allotted to them. Our candidates are going to be very civil tonight. They're not going to interrupt each other. Are you? No, they won't. They'll have 2 minutes for opening statements, 2 minutes for closing statements, and 1.5 minutes to answer the questions. They also can rebut if they like. They'll have 1 minute to rebut, and then the opposing candidate can also have 1 minute to rebut as well. They will speak on a rotational basis. They drew numbers to see who would go first. And it turns out that Dwayne Strasser, who I haven't introduced yet, the number one man here, will go first with opening statements, and then we'll switch off who will speak first after that. Courtesy is required to make an event go smoothly, and so in that frame we will not have any booing or hissing or cheering or outbursts or floor stomping, will we? Thank you. And most of you who have been here before know that drill. So anyway, onward and upward, we're going to start. It's time to meet the candidates. Nevada County Board of Supervisors candidates, Dwayne Strasser and Heidi Hall. So let's welcome them now. And we'll hold our applause so that we can, till the end, so that we can give our candidates all the time they need to give us their viewpoints on all the topics that mean so much to us. So right now we'll start with Dwayne, and they told me they wanted to go by their first names, so it's no disrespect to them. This is what they like, so it's going to be Dwayne and Heidi, correct? And so Dwayne, if you will go first.
Okay, thank you.
2 minutes.
And I'll apologize up front if I sneeze or my voice changes. I've got some allergies, so I'll try my best not to. I want to thank everyone, first of all, for attending tonight, the League of Women Voters, for making this possible. I think this is important because it gives you a voice to vote on the direction the county is going to take, and that's critical. In the last few years, we've lost that kind of through voter apathy. We've lost the numbers, and we need to continue these events to keep the topics common. And my wife Connie was born and raised in Grass Valley. I'm a fourth-generation Nevada City resident. After college, I held several corporate management positions, traveling before we returned to Nevada County in 1996, I'm sorry. We bought the bike shop. We've been serving the community through the tour of Nevada City for the last 20 years. We enjoy that. Being a small business person, it's been very rewarding, and we get to interact and know everybody. It's been wonderful. I was taught not to complain unless you're willing to make a difference. And through that desire, I was elected to the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Served 13 years, 3 as president, basically working to secure success and growth to our own business as well as those of the other merchants here in town. That was the focus to me as part of it's the foundation of our economy. In 2009, I was asked by family friend and mentor Gene Albaugh to run for Nevada City Council to help achieve a positive financial direction, that was his wording, and secure our historic values while looking for options of conservative but smart growth. I've been elected twice, serving the term as mayor. I deal with all aspects of service for our residents, including school districts, police, fire, public safety, public works, infrastructure, road safety, street repair, water rights and service, recreation, solid and hazardous waste, human resources, homelessness, and it goes on and on. And those are the daily needs that we have to provide service to our residents. The trust relationships, the track record of treating everyone fairly, plus the knowledge and experience I've gained serving our community, including assisting our nonprofits and helping unique community events to exist, are the very reason I'm asking for your consideration and allowing me to serve as District 1 Supervisor.
Thank you. I do want to say that I understand that people in the back can't hear you.
Okay.
Maybe you can put that up so you can-
I don't have to do it again, right?
No. And now Heidi Hull. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, while you're doing that, let me just test the volume. Can you hear me all right in the back?
It's a little bit of, oh, it's echoing?
How about now? Better?
Where's that? Ann? Can you help with the title? That won't zero out.
You're having trouble with the stop. Yeah, sometimes it starts doing like
Can you get it started? You have a second hand on your watch, okay. Which reminds me,
Yes.
I need to take mine off.
Second
and watch
hands. Okay, tell me when to go.
it. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, go.
Thank you. Thank you for having this forum. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I agree this is a great place, a great way to make sure that democracy functions well in a county. I have been interested in public policy and public service since college. I have a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees in public policy. I went on and worked for the next 25 years in all varied levels of government: international, federal, state, local, and tribal. I've managed multi-million-dollar grants and contracts. I've hired and fired people. I've created budgets. I've managed to budgets, and I've run departments. I've done all of this in order to bring services to people and the environment. It's a passion. It's something I love. It's a calling, and I've always done this in my professional career. I've also brought those abilities and this passion to my work here in Grass Valley in Nevada City. I came up here when my grandmother moved here in the 70s. As a kid, I spent my summers on Rollins Lake, hung out downtown at the button shop, and when I was able to bring my own kids up here and move here, I immediately got involved locally. So my children both graduated from Union Hill and Nevada Union High School. And when I came up here, I got involved with Circle. I love the river and decided I needed to do something to protect it. I started as a river monitor, and I ended up as president of the board. I've been a court-appointed special advocate. I've been involved with NEO. I ran for Congress, and I was on Dancing with Our Stars, which was by far the most traumatizing experience I've had. I am dedicated to public service. I love this community. I have an incredible amount of skills that I can bring to this office that I think are needed on the board at this time. I'm offering you new, energetic, proactive leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go on, I want to introduce our KVMR media rep. Is it Steve? Steve Baker. Welcome. We're going to start off with a media question, but I'm going to start off with Pascal of Ubinet for the first question of tonight, and the candidates will have 1.5 minutes to answer.
Good evening, candidates. Can you hear me okay? Good. How about now? Good. So you're both busy people, you both have jobs, you have families. If elected, how are you going to manage your current jobs, and how are you going to do that? Are you going to retire, resign, focus on being just board members, or do you think that you can do it all?
Okay, and we will start with Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you, Pascal. That's a good question. I take this position very seriously. To be in a leadership position where you have responsibilities for a budget for an entire county is a big deal. I will manage this job like I've managed my jobs, my family, and my volunteer activities my entire life. I raised 2 kids, had a full-time career, and volunteered my whole life. I have ran my campaign, my congressional campaign, while I was still working. I reduced my hours at my job, which I was allowed to do at the very end, which was very helpful. If I'm elected to this position, I will reduce my hours on my state job, which I have permission to do. If I need to go to half-time, I will do that. I will commit to putting all the time necessary into doing this job well.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yeah, I believe this is a full-time position. I know that some people describe it as a part-time position. Even city council right now, I basically have staff that cover my time. It's a burden, but it's something I chose to do. So I typically work early morning hours, evening hours, and I work on the weekends. We're open 7 days. But to me, this has to be the focus. Even the commissions and committees I'm on right now as a city council person related to the county take up a good amount of time. So I believe this is a 30 to 40 hour a week, if not more, position. You've got to be able to attend events in the evenings and the weekends. So basically, I'm looking at this as a full-time position.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to a question now from the audience. And this one is about pension funds. Nevada County is facing unfunded liabilities in its employee pension program of approximately $150 million, almost 75% of the entire annual revenue. How would you recommend the Board of Supervisors address this major problem? And we'll go to Dwayne first.
This is happening at all levels, nationwide, if not worldwide. And there's no easy answer, no easy solution. It has to be dealt with. We have to take it head on. First and foremost, for lack of a better term, I think we have to stop the bleeding. We cannot continue past practices. There are no easy ways to say it that even more, okay? No easy ways to deal with it except for the fact that we've got to reduce what is being offered. The employees, unfortunately, it is not something they want to hear, are going to have to take more responsibility on their own behalf as far as matching funds. Where the money comes from, it's going to have to be cutting corners and getting more efficient with what we have to work with now, and basically turning the corner now so it doesn't continue to dig a deeper hole as we move into the future. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to another media person. Oh, excuse me, I'm glad. This is what happens a lot, so keep me on track, folks, because it's going to happen probably more than once. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heidi.
Thank you. Yes, unfunded liability for county staff is an issue that the entire state is dealing with, and everyone is going to have to sacrifice some. The county does have a plan to deal with this. When I sat through the 2-day annual planning meeting in January that the Board of Supervisors has every year, they did propose a plan to handle this, and I would be part of working with them to do that. I will also be part in the future of looking at the cost-benefit analysis of privatizing services in the short run to stop the pension funding building up without looking at the cost of having to then build new contracts, create new brain trusts internally. This is an issue that gets forgotten, that when you cut back county staff and put out things to bid, you're also reducing the brain trust in your county staff. So it's not just about pension funds, it's about making sure that we have the right staff, that we're paying them well, and that we can function in the long term.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to Steve Baker of KVMR with their question.
Yes, first of all, I just wanted to note one thing, that for the first time in my memory, being at KVMR for some 20 years now or so, not one, but two of the supervisor candidates have connections to KVMR. So Dwayne is the co-host of a show called Bike Talk, and Heidi does commentaries on our evening news, but both of them not doing this right now until after the election. I guess I would like to ask a question with it's probably on everybody's minds, and how do you stand on Proposition W and why? Yes or no?
Okay, and we will start with, I have to look here and see. It looks like it starts with Dwayne. I hope I'm right.
I think it's with me, actually.
It's you, it's with Heidi. Okay.
And
I believe the audience.
Yeah. And I hope we get a couple of bites at this apple, because this is a big and complicated issue that I think needs to be addressed deeply. I will say right up front that there's a lot of misinformation out there about regulating medical marijuana. And right now, what you will be hearing is that it's all about big illegal grows, or it's all about nuisance. Number one, on the big illegal grows, they were illegal yesterday, they are illegal today, they will be illegal tomorrow. This measure has absolutely nothing to do with big illegal grows, and that's a red herring that keeps coming up over and over. The fact that it's a nuisance, that marijuana growing in the county is a nuisance, is a valid issue. And the best way to get at nuisances is through ordinances, through regulation. The state has done a lot of work. They've worked with the Police Officers Association, with law enforcement, with businesses, with cannabis growers. They've worked bipartisan and come up with a framework law that allows small medical marijuana businesses to survive and thrive, to get permitted, to get licensed, and to come in under the law. I believe that the locals have the obligation to come up with their own local ordinances that add on or adapt from the existing state law that currently allows small medical marijuana grows. I do not believe that a ban will get us where we want to go.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
First and foremost, I believe that we've got people in this community on both sides of this topic. And as an elected official, we have to be very fair and open to seeing both sides of this. So yes, I would agree that I don't think there's anybody in our county that's not compassionate for an individual that needs medicinal cannabis. And that's a straightforward issue. It's been in the community for a long time. But I also believe that we should not be backseat politicians. If you haven't been in the seat, it's hard to describe what people go through. You voted the current supervisors into place. They have come up with this decision. Obviously, it's 4-1. It's not unanimous. And it's working that way. It's opening this up for our community, our public, to speak on this in June. And I think that's the best way to go about it. We're going to get a pulse for the community currently, this community, not Measure S. We can't go back to that. It's not apples to apples. And I would say that I personally believe the focus needs to be, again, on the detrimental side of this, which historically has been the large illegal grows. But Measure W is simply a tool. I believe we need to make our own destiny as a community. I'm not going to rely on the state, in all honesty. They're great for looking at guidelines and models, but we can also look at Colorado and Oregon, the state of Washington, and their models are not consistent or working for them necessarily either right now. So I believe we need to come up with what's best for us, and we're going to find that out in June, and it's going to be in the hands of the voters.
Thank you very much.
Could I have a rebuttal?
Yes. You'll have 1 minute. Can you?
What I'd like to talk about for a minute is the process that's been set up that's been frankly made a hash out of, pun intended. The ordinance that the supervisors passed and that now have come up with an ordinance that we need to vote on, they were unclear when they voted on it what would happen if an ordinance passed, and we are still unclear what will happen if the ordinance passes. The legal language that was used is convoluted. The courts agreed it had to be rewritten. It is still not clear. And now we also have a resolution by the board that says, oh, actually, if you pass this, if Measure W goes down, then we will reconsider what we said before. However, it was clear that the chair of the board at a meeting recently made it clear that the 4 people on the board are committed to instituting a ban because they see that's the only way to provide safety to this community. So this process was flawed from the very beginning. We need to go back. We need the board to do their job and come up with a readable, logical ordinance that looks at land use issues here in the county and takes advantage of the volumes of work that the state has already done on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dwayne, you can...
Yeah, I would simply add that I believe whatever the composition of the board is after this June, it will be their responsibility to do just that. And the public needs to speak first. The public will speak in June. And it's up to you guys to step up and to vote and get your friends out there to vote and to speak. And I see a big difference in the personality potentially happening after June, one way or another. So that's where I'll leave it.
Thank you. We're going to have an audience question now. And this one is about jobs. To stimulate our economy and provide jobs, should the timber and mining industries be encouraged? And if so, how? And we will go to Dwayne. Dwayne.
Yeah. So the timber and mining industries have been a big part of the foundation of who we are. And with that said, though, it doesn't mean that we cannot ignore the fact that there are detrimental practices as part of either of those. We have issues here, meeting with the Fire Safe Council, meeting with other professionals in the area, with the issue of our trees. I mean, they're dying. That's probably actually the biggest topic that nobody's paying attention to right now with the beetle kill. 85%, according to a Sierra Nevada Forest Service study that I saw, the Sierra Nevada, 85% of our trees are at risk right now. Placer County has basically stated, gone to an emergency state. We need to deal with that first and foremost. We need to clear out the fire hazard. We have issues on both sides. I get the environmental side too, as far as natural habitat, but we have to look at all options, and we have to get kind of a step ahead on this and deal with it. But it's not going to happen by shutting down our logging industry. Every house we live in is built with wood that was logged here. Every building that we work in, the building we're in right now was built with wood. So we've got to find win-win to work with all the industries here in the area and not shut things down because of limited kind of thought process.
Thank you. And Heidi.
Thank you. The timber and mining industries have been vastly reduced because we know more today about the kind of harm that was brought with the clear cutting and regulation-less mining that happened in the past. We do have, that industry still continues to exist on a much smaller scale. The future is not in revitalizing the timber and mining industry. Our future is in what the young people are going to come up here and want to do. Our future is in high tech. Our future is in existing agriculture, which is a phenomenal small local farm industry that we have now, wineries, small boutiques, small businesses. Our future is in the kinds of things that we want our children and our grandchildren to come in and contribute to this county and are able then to sell outside of this county as well. We need to stop looking to remaking the past and move forward and join the 21st century.
Thank you. Well, our next question will come from Alan Rakelmy, of the Union.
Thanks. Is this on? Okay. The issue of homelessness is discussed regularly during public comment at board meetings, though little new action has been taken to address the problem of housing and the cost of renting a home. What solutions do you have to combat homelessness in Nevada County, and how, if at all, can you address the high cost of housing in this county?
And we'll go to Heidi.
You've raised actually two, again, I hope we have more time on this, two separate issues. One is the cost of housing in general for people who have jobs and can afford it, and the other is the issue of homelessness. Homelessness is an issue I've been working on for at least 4 years since I've been working up here, looking at what's going on in Chico and Redding and Auburn, as well as here in Nevada County. And I've worked with the Hospitality House. I've volunteered down there. I've looked at studies. I've attended meetings in Placer County and here in Nevada County. I've spoken to a number of people. To my mind, the homelessness issue is one of the biggest issues we need to get a handle on here in this county. It overlaps in great part with our mental health issues and our addiction issues. And all of those combined have created this huge area where we need to proactively provide leadership to address. The first thing we can do on our housing issues, we need to build more houses. We need to build more income houses. That's going to take time. The county should come up with a plan so that people know what we're looking to do. We're also going to have to come up with a 24/7 facility. I toured the one in Auburn. It's amazing. It's done very well. We need a place for those folks to go who can't get into Hospitality House. We need to continue to support the Hospitality House. They're doing great work. Their funding is being cut. In all three of these areas, the board can step forward, help create plan, help provide leadership by bringing people together, and in some cases provide more funding. I'm glad to see that they have now decided that this is an issue to be addressed. It's a priority issue. I wish they'd started earlier, and I certainly believe they can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yeah, I don't think there is an issue with starting earlier. This has been going on for the past 20 years that I've been in public service, and it was going on 50 years before I got here. It happens worldwide. There is, again, no easy solution. At the city level, we have struggled but tried to achieve affordable housing mandates by the state. We're doing our best. That's not good enough. I absolutely guarantee that most of the people, including my employees, and we pay very well for our industry, they do not make enough to buy a home in our city. And there's not a lot that we can do about that, but encourage the municipalities to continue to look for affordable options. We also have to work with social services. There are a lot of services out there that are offered that people don't take advantage of. So we need to do the best job we can to get the word out that these services are available to individuals that are struggling. We've been doing that. It's not working as well as maybe it could be. Hospitality House, like we said, is great. I serve down there a couple of times a month, and the people we meet, they get a lot out of that. And a lot of them are able to turn things around, but we have a lot of other folks that do not get that opportunity or can't take advantage of it because of lack of transportation, lack of a cell phone, and they're really stuck. And there is no easy answer, but we as a community have to continue to work forward, move forward on options and look for a win-win. I'm not going to tell you there is an easy answer because there is not, and this is ongoing.
And thank you. Our next question, audience question, is, do you support having a biomass plant, and why or why not? And we'll start with Dwayne.
I support investigating the options. I know this is something that's been coming back at us for many, many years. There are other communities that have very positive, successful models of running such a plant. Again, we have issues already up here, even though we believe we live in this pristine mountain area. We have air quality issues here beyond belief. And so we have to be careful with anything we do. It's going to have to be very modern technology. Fire Safe Council and talking to some of the organizations that are charged with looking at these options, everything I've been told is that it's very important that we need to move forward with that. But I don't know that that's fact until I'm able to investigate a little bit more at the next level. At the city level, we don't really face that per se. It's not a topic that is brought to us as far as the actual technology. We actually banned at Nevada City, we banned burning, and that was not a popular choice for some of the county residents that are used to burning. They thought that we were being very short-sighted, but it's something we felt was important that the community demanded. So if a biomass plant is an option to reduce some of these issues and help us do some of the clearing that will help us prevent fires down the line to get rid of the excess, the slash, then we should at least investigate and see if it's a viable option.
Thank you. And Heidi.
Yes, a lot of work has been done on biomass plants, and we do need them here. The penciling out to make it work has been very difficult, and a big part of that has been Where the plants have been requires transportation, and the transportation cost ends up making it difficult to pencil out. However, we have this massive amount of trees that are dead or dying out there that are fodder for the wildland fires we will have this summer and for the future summers. And we need to get in there in the wildland urban interface areas and start taking some of those out. Much of that is going to end up in biomass plants. We have got to start looking at more creative ways to handle our green waste.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is a media question, and that will be from Pascal Eubanet.
Let's stay with fire a little bit and fuel loads in Nevada County. There has been a lot of discussion because people are not too happy that for paying the SRA fee or what's called the fire tax. Now CAL FIRE is they brought in 43 firefighters in this unit to help with inspections. What, as supervisors, would you do to provide more help to people? Because we all know it's really expensive to take out trees. So what options would you see to help residents in Nevada County to actually deal with the fuel load on their private properties?
Thank you, Pascal. Heidi.
So this is one of the more difficult issues that the board's going to have to deal with, in part because they don't have a lot of authority on this issue. I know we've been relying on the Fire Safe Council in a huge amount to do a lot of great work. We are, through the FireWise community programs that they support and educate us on, we are one of the best counties in the state. I myself am heading up a FireWise community program out on my road, out down Greenhorn, because I understand that we all have to do our own part. And that includes clearing our own areas, our own acreage, and making sure that our roads that are not county roads are also cleared. We are also going to need to help the Fire Safe Council do more because they are doing such a great job. Ultimately, we have to work, the Board of Supervisors needs to work with our legislators to move more funding into prevention so that we aren't ending up simply trying to battle these wildland fires as they come through. There is going to be a limited amount that we can do with money to help individual landowners. There are some grants and assistance that the Fire Safe Council offers. Neighborhood groups can get together and help each other. I know they're doing that already. But this is going to be an effort that's going to require the community to step up as much as it is going to be asking the government to step up.
Thank you. There's a ding, yeah.
Yeah. How about that? Is that better? Really? I can hear it now. Okay. You need to hear it. That's more important. Okay.
No, I still hear it.
I don't think this is volume. Is it? I still hear it. I'm sorry. I'll try something different for the next question.
Dwayne?
Okay. So basically, Heidi nailed almost all the key points. So it's very straightforward. And Robinson Timber, some of our other timber industry folks have been transitioning. So, I mean, eliminating them or reducing that part of our community is not going to help. We need their help right now. The recent work that we've done on Old Downeyville Highway on Champion Line, you'll see a lot of people, again, complain because they saw a lot of tree removal. It was done for a reason. It was because of beetle kill, and we can't have it continue to spread, or we're going to lose everything out there. We need to make it as easy as possible to work with the citizens through the county as far as arborists, other experts, to allow the community members that need tree removal done to pass through basically quickly. They can't suffer through 3 or 4 months of permits and so on and so forth. And we need to work in conjunction with our community partners to make this happen. But we've got to face it. We've got to deal with it now. We can't wait any longer. It's going to be too late. So yes, we should allow our residents to come forward as needed, to apply for tree removal as needed, and to have it done quickly and affordably. If we have to assist with that financing, we have to work through the state then the best we can to get funding. The SRA fee is interesting because Higgins Fire District recently lost their special tax election bid. A lot of people saying, well, we're already paying $135 to the state, why are we paying again? And so it hurt us locally, but CAL FIRE is a partner, so we have to weigh that out. We can't hurt CAL FIRE, but at the same time we need to support our local fire districts, and fire-wise communities are a viable way for our citizens to step up.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to an audience question, and this one is about the ERC. Do you feel that the level of county funding for the ERC is being used as effectively as it could be? If not, what changes would you make to achieve tangible results? And we'll go to Dwayne.
That may be a question that in previous years, potentially, there are some people that have questioned the quantifiable results, but it's not a straightforward quantifiable department or division. I've seen ERC try over the years with different directors to recruit and bring high tech into the industry as well as regular retail. It's very difficult to do. ERC the last few years, to me, I wish I was actually at the dinner right now. I've been on the team that's been working on the digital media campus. Robert Bergman, one of my council members, has been key with that. We need to support that. We need to give them more funding. That's okay. I believe we actually need to support them more heartily right now with more funding to make the digital media campus happen. That used to be the foundation of our economy with Grass Valley Group. We've lost a lot of that out of the Tech Center as well as Grass Valley. We need to bring it back. And right now, they're our only tool, the only arm that we have. We don't have that built into the county or the cities. We need to support them as much as possible to make this happen.
Thank you, Dwayne. And Heidi.
Thank you. How's this? Any better?
We're all deans. We're going to be dreaming deans.
Now? That's better. Okay, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay. Are you ready for Heidi?
Are you ready for me? Okay. So I'm excited to see the kinds of things that the ERC is pursuing right now. I think this green screen idea is excellent. I'm glad they have a big vision. I'm always a fan of big, bold visions when it comes to economic development. And I'm especially interested in the training piece they have. I do think, though, that they are missing some pieces. For one, there is this whole other alternative Digitech community up here that is working on a much more smaller, local, individual level. And they have some great ideas that the ERC was not that excited to listen to. I think we need to be bringing in the younger people who are coming up here, who have second homes up here, who are waiting to make the transition, but they want to know that they're going to get heard and that their ideas are going to be implemented as well. I'd like to see more of the nuts and bolts in the ERC. We're putting a lot of money in that. As someone who's managed big budgets, who's managed contracts and contractors, I know how easily that money can get wasted. We need to see the deliverables. We need to see the nuts and bolts. And I really want them to incorporate a little bit more of the youth, the younger people and their ideas. They are bringing fresh ideas up here. As someone at the ERC meeting said today, good cities learn how to say yes to new ideas.
Yes.
So I'd just like to address that. So I've been very intimate with the ERC over the several years, and I don't see a lot of money going to them, as was stated. I believe that they actually are on a shoestring. I believe that they've had a hard time doing a functional job and actually following through because their budgets have been so tight, extremely tight. And the meetings that I've attended, both with their board, their open members, I have never seen them turn away any type of a new, young group of people that have a fresh idea. So I haven't seen that actually happen. I've seen them be very open. I've seen them embrace new ideas and do their best to steer people towards, grant opportunities to come up here. And I think it's only going to go further in that direction as we have the Green Spring Institute happening here soon. It's really going to be a cottage industry embracer.
Thank you. And Heidi, do you want to address that? You have a minute also.
I know that there's a great big contract that went to outside folks to bring in strategic thinking, and that there are a lot of high-powered people on the board who are bringing outside ideas in, and I do applaud that. I am talking about the younger people who are separately from the ERC already establishing a digital presence in this town. and it's quite refreshing the way they're going about it. In addition, because we are putting so many eggs in the basket of the ERC when it comes to economic development, and I know they're stretched thin with staff, but I would love to see them make sure that they're also including continuing to support the arts, which is has a huge multiplier effect in our economy and is an attraction for many of the people we want to bring up here, as well as to support agritourism, which keeps getting knocked off the agenda. I talked to three of the wineries out 174. They are booming. There are certain things they want from the board. They're not really being talked to about it. As well as a number of the farmers who were at the Sierra Harvest meeting last night, an overflow crowd who simply want to grow local food, increase the use of local food, and that's another industry.
Thank you. All right. Our next question is a media question. We'll go to Steve Baker of KVMR.
There's an active movement about to form the so-called state of Jefferson. And wanted to know what the two of you think about the concept of the state of Jefferson, whether you think Nevada County should secede and join other Northern California counties in this proposed state, and what you think its impact would be on Nevada County.
And we'll go with Heidi.
Thank you for asking that. I am part of a group called Keep It California, which took upon itself to look at the financials that the state of Jefferson people had put together and were bringing around to boards of supervisors throughout the North State. The state of Jefferson idea simply doesn't pencil out. Never has, never will. It's been a huge distraction for many of the boards of supervisors who are now, as we speak, the ones who have supported it in concept are now reconvening and deciding to take it off their ballots now that they understand what the finance of it is. I do want to say that I empathize with the issues that are raised, and I agree actually with some of the issues. As a northern rural area with less representation than the urban areas, we aren't always heard in Sacramento. That is absolutely right. We need our legislators to do a better job of reaching across the aisle in Sacramento, like some of them are, bringing legislators up here, educating them on the issues. There are better ways to get at this issue than trying to break off in an entirely new state.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yes, so first of all, I would never say never. At the moment, I would agree that this does not pencil out. Local residents that are supporters of the idea of the state of Jefferson are residents that are deserving of equal fair value representation. And even though at the moment my information, and I'm very familiar with Keep It California, I'm very familiar with other opportunities that people are offering out there, as far as I should say information being offered out there. The local state of Jefferson folks have reached out. I will meet with them soon, but I also believe that we need to right now leverage the state for better representation as a rural area. That's the immediate answer. It's not easy. We've been asking for 50 years. It hasn't happened. But to cut the state in half, and really it's not even half, it's almost a third, two-thirds if you look at it. At the moment, that does not make sense to me, but it doesn't mean that in the future it's something that our citizens should not at least look at and consider. We should always have a fresh view and look at options.
Thank you. We'll go to an audience question. This one is about mental illness impacts most county services. Public defender, jail, sheriff, social services, behavioral health, to name a few. What is your experience and or perspective as to how to address this, how to improve help to reduce negative impacts on individuals who are ill, and county services? And we will start with Dwayne.
The county, from what I've seen, again, looking at the workshop numbers, is stretched thin also. I know a lot of people don't believe that. There are people that say, well, we've got a $23 million budget excess here in the bank. Well, if we have a $200 million budget, that's barely the 10% that's recommended by the state and the federal government as a reserve. So we're barely at a 10% reserve. So you can't just go dipping into that. It needs to be there. Social services is critical, it's important. I think we actually are doing our best, but I think we're lacking. I think it definitely needs to be improved. I'm seeing that directly. I'm actually missing the class tonight at a new day that I've been taking a 12-week course that deals with depression, deals with suicidal tendencies. Our community and every community is dealing with a high percentage of individuals that are affected by this, and it's tragic. Every family has probably been touched by this at least once, in their lifetime, if not more. So I would say we have to keep doing the good work we're doing now, but we need to improve it the best we can. Finding that money is not easy. We can't continue to raise taxes and simply pay for more services. So we need to find a better way or a more efficient way to work with all the scattered and fractured groups that we have here in the county already, many of them doing their own work their own way, and it's great work, but I think we need to bring those groups together and actually work strength in numbers as partners.
Thank you. And Heidi.
The mental health issue is one of the most heartbreaking ones in this state. We have no place to put people who have chronic mental health issues, and we haven't for several decades. The crisis stabilization unit that was just added to the Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital is fantastic. It's going to be a great big help. It's the first step in the right direction, but it has 4 beds. When we talk about the mental health issues in this county, statistics from the DA's office say that 70 to 80% of the people who cycle through their office, overlap with the homeless, have mental health issues. What we're doing with these people is we're dumping them on the street, then we're arresting them, they're sitting in the jail, then they get dumped on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, then they're calling up for social services. The social services staff we have here has been cut back, and their caseload has increased dramatically. This is an area where we need to invest. The cost of waiting and doing after the fact, putting people in jail and then trying to get them off the streets again is phenomenal. It's amazing. It's far more than if we would put the money into properly treating them, finding a place where we can put them, give them the casework that they need. There's a lot of work we need to do on this, and we could support our county staff quite a bit more than we are now to help get at this issue.
Thank you. We'll go to the next media panelist, and that's Ellen Rakelme, the union.
Water is a constant concern in the state as we are still in a multi-year drought. Despite this drought, NID has asked for relief from state-mandated conservation levels. In light of this, what are your thoughts on the construction of the new Centennial Reservoir, and do you believe this reservoir is needed?
And we'll go to Heidi first.
Yeah, thank you for that question. This is an issue I'm going to be watching very closely as we go along. As someone who's working for the Department of Water Resources with a background in water issues, I'm familiar with all of what you raised. I know, for example, that dams tend to not work after a decade or two. They silt up, they cause environmental damage, they bring extra water in, but then you have to make sure they're full to really use them. On the other hand, I've always been an advocate for regional solutions for water. So whereas raising Shasta Dam may not help us, something regional might help us. I'm going to be looking very carefully at the alternatives analysis that NID has to do. Are there alternatives to a new dam that would get us the water stability that we need without having to put up another structure that will create environmental damage, cause transportation nightmares for that part of the county? And may not actually benefit us very much. I've also spent some time talking to the farmers, and I'm getting both points of view. I spoke to one farmer who said we did not have any water cutbacks. We'd like that dam in to make sure we can continue to not have cutbacks. Spoke to another farmer who said that water is not going to come to us. That water is going to be sold. We don't want the dam. So I will be listening very carefully. I will be bringing my experience as a water manager to assess what is brought to us to look at.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yes, going through the Water Drought Forum just a couple of nights ago here at the library, NID made a full presentation in front of a full crowd of folks on both sides of this topic. They're already looking at alternative options. Our high country water storage facilities, they're looking at the potential of raising those. It was suggested that by one of their directors to me directly that she would like to see them actually do a little more silt removal. We think we could increase anywhere from 10 to 20% of our capacity by basically dredging our existing facilities before they look at a new Centennial Dam issue. The fact is right now, many of the property owners actually are in favor of this down there. They've already purchased many of the homes and the properties ahead of time, and they haven't even done the EIR, which is interesting. But there are properties, including a couple of legacy ranches, people that actually established our county that are preferring not to sell at this point. So I think we have to see what the community wants, but I think we should investigate other options first. We do have the ability to improve our capacity dramatically without this reservoir at the moment. But long term, again, the argument right now is passionate because it's being thrown at us right in the middle of a drought scenario. So everybody jumps on it and says, yep, we need storage. But I think it's going to be up to NID to bear the burden of proving through the EIR that this is first and foremost doable and that the public wants it.
Thank you very much. And now back to an audience question. What is your position strategy about bringing the fiber optics in and promoting tech development? And we'll go to Heidi first.
Fiber, I think you're talking about the John Paul's project to bring fiber optic broadband up here, which is a great project. Now, I'm trying to look at the different issues that are raised. We've got high tech that we're bringing up here through the digital campus. We've got high tech that we're bringing up here through the Digitech folks, and we've got this fiber optic cable project that's coming in. It's a great project. We should be doing more of it. The county took some time to get on board with it, and again, this is another place where I would like to see the Board of Supervisors be a little more proactive, invite more projects like that to come in. And this is really where we're going to see the economic benefit, is that when we in our homes and home businesses and small businesses downtown can have better access to the internet, faster, more stable internet, that's where we're going to see the incomes rise that actually affect our day-to-day living, not in the big tech centers where we can create some jobs, but we're not really addressing the needs of the entire community. So I'm greatly in favor of projects like that, and I would like to see more leadership to bring more projects like that into town.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Being involved in supporting this project from the very beginning, we didn't do the heavy lifting. That was John Paul and his group. I've only seen the county and all of our cities be very supportive from day one of this, and I believe that they stepped up, went down to San Francisco for the large meetings and actually helped make this happen by supporting this idea. Again, we're all going to benefit from the work of others, from a couple of entrepreneurial folks here in town. That's wonderful. And I think it's critical. We can't have one without the other. We are not going to rebuild our high-tech industry up here without, again, as we said, moving into the 21st century. So let's support this. I think it's already being supportive. It's moving forward as we speak, and I think it can only be win-win. But I've only seen support from the community from all sides leading up to this.
Thank you. We'll go to the media next, and we'll go to Pascal.
What's my last name again?
I can try it.
Okay, dumb. Let's get away for a moment from issues and let's get a little more personal. Tell us something about you that your campaign managers or your kitchen cabinets, etc., strongly recommended you not share us. In other words, tell us something really embarrassing about yourself.
What was the question?
The question was, I want to hear something that they have been told really not to talk about. In other words, embarrass yourselves in front of an audience, because if you get elected, you will do that a lot.
Okay, Dwayne.
Yeah, that's actually a fair question, and the answer, at least on my part, I've got an amazing group of people from all political spectrums helping me out volunteering, and that wasn't an issue. It's not something that I think any of them would even think of bringing up. Nobody has poured any words into my mouth, and even if they did, they know I wouldn't say it. I come up here and fumble through what I wanted to say anyway. So basically, my advice was just to be myself, and I don't think we've ever, at the city council level, we try to be careful not to offend anybody, but I don't think we've ever been afraid to address anything head on. So basically, no, I'm not afraid to answer any questions, and there wasn't one topic or multiple topics that it was suggested I not deal with.
That doesn't really answer the question.
Okay, well, okay, be a little more specific then on how I can answer your question.
Tell me something that you actually would like the voters not to know.
I really don't know anything that I would not like the voters not to know.
All right, Heidi.
Well,
you're up.
I guess I'm going to take advantage of this question to respond to Dwayne's response, because this is a nonpartisan race. But the flavor of this race changed when the Tea Party, our local Tea Party, got behind my opponent and wrote a large check to him. Looks like it's running his campaign, has put on his one big fundraising event, and has created quite some consternation, both for me and for the people that I've spoken to out in the community. So I want to take the advantage to make sure that you all know where I stand. There's no secret that I'm a Democrat because I ran on a Democratic ticket for my congressional campaign. As a Democrat, I was clear about my fundamental values, that they do not change. I believe inclusion, inclusivity, transparency, equal opportunity for all, justice for everyone regardless of gender, race, class. These are fundamental values that I have, and I will never compromise them to take money or to ask for votes. The idea of reaching common ground and having cross-partisan support, to me, means that you are upfront about your values, you respect the other side's different, and then you look to find common ground on the issues you can agree on. But you have to establish that trust first, and that trust comes from being honest and transparent and open about your values. My values have not changed except to grow and evolve in my life.
So you both haven't answered my question. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to rebut that a bit.
You're going to rebut.
I would like to, yes.
1 minute.
So that's fine. I decided from day one, family decision, to take the high road on this. It's ironic that I was pushed towards considering this position for the last several years, and described as somebody that could bring both sides together, could bring the county together with our cities, kind of reset the communication button. I've not changed my values, period. Both of my city council runs, I had made the decision to state no party preference because I believe I want people to vote on a track record, on my experience and knowledge, not on my party. I do not want to vote from a Democrat simply because I'm a Democrat. And that was what I decided a long time ago. And so I did the same thing here. This had nothing to do with trying to obtain votes from one side or the other. I openly went out and looked for people on both sides to help me with my campaign. And I will not apologize. People don't see the liberal Democrats that helped with my event also and that attended my event. But I won't apologize for the people on the Republican side that stepped up. And Tea Party has nothing to do with this. The money that was written for my event was written to support my event. And it came from everybody. But thank you.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. The fact is that my opponent changed his political affiliation a couple of months ago, not before. And one has to ask the question, why? If it doesn't matter what we are, why would you change? This is an issue this is not for me. I know who I'm voting for. But to me, it is a matter of trust. Are you who you say you are? Are you going to take money from people whose values directly conflict with yours in ways that fundamentally affect the constituents that in your race? For example, the Tea Party wants to dismantle Medicare and Social Security, does not believe in global warming. There are a number of issues that directly affect our citizens in this county. And if you take money, and that check that was written was from a Tea Party PAC, if you're going to take money from a group that has values around medical marijuana as well that are different than yours, what are you going to do when a vote comes up that challenges your values versus the values of the people who supported you?
Thank you. Okay, next is an audience question. What is your plan to improve transportation, particularly in Western Nevada County? And let's see, we go to, what number is that, 14? We go to Heidi.
Well, here's an issue where I don't have an argument with the Board of Supervisors at the moment. We have a good transportation commission that's looking at the transportation issues that we have here. They've done a great job so far of bringing in a roundabout where we need it, keeping the roads paved. There's always more to be done, but there is money and it's being allocated, in my view, correctly, and I would continue to work with the Transportation Commission and the board to make sure that continues. I know that that's an important issue for our constituents.
Okay, thank you. Dwayne?
Yes, there is a lot of good work being done, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. And there are many of us in the community, both at the city and the county level, that have been working on these issues tirelessly as far as shouldering, safety, minor improvements, trying to retain the Caltrans money we needed to continue the safety work on Highway 49 between us and Auburn, which we almost actually lost this year. And the NCTC did a great job of stepping up and kind of leading the charge on that to retain that money. Our incidence of fatalities between going southbound on 49 between us and Auburn has dropped dramatically since this work is being done, but it's not being done without a lot of effort on the side of the county and the NCTC, which represents the county as their arm, that extension. So we have a lot of work still to do. We have a lot of improvements to do. We don't want to hurt our rural feel, I believe, out here. But at the same time, the more we improve shoulders, the more the safety rises. Public transportation is critical. That's a big part of this also. We have again, an aging population. A lot of folks don't drive as much anymore. They need better bus service. So we need to improve that dramatically. And I know we're doing our best, but sometimes our best is not good enough, and we need to find better solutions to fund that.
Thank you. Okay. To Steve Baker, KVMR.
I'm going to go back to the medical marijuana issue here in the county, and that is, do you think the supervisors acted appropriately in adopting the urgency ordinance that was proposed by the sheriff and county council and passed by the supervisors on a 4-to-1 vote? The supervisor representing this district was in favor of that. Would you have been in favor of it as well?
And Dwayne?
So at the time, we faced that as a city also. And at the time, it was presented to us that it was an urgency issue to basically retain control of the direction our community took. As it's turned out, obviously, that was in error, meaning that the state kind of backed off. They kind of tweaked some things. It wasn't as critical as it needed to be. I believe, again, it's hard to second guess a supervisor that's here sitting in this chair working on the information he had from his staff, from his sheriff's department, which is very different than what I had from our staff and our police department. So at the time, I would say I wasn't sitting in the chair. I'm not going to second guess that. I really don't know what I would have done at the time, to be honest with you. A whole different apples to apples between the city and the county. I know that we had a great, in my opinion, great ordinance set of rules already in place. So maybe it wasn't as urgent, but I'm not going to second guess a place where I didn't walk in their shoes.
Thank you. And Heidi?
This is an issue where perhaps there's a pretty significant difference between us. I have spent my life in government agencies asking the hard questions, because if you don't, things will just keep happening the way they do, and you don't always get the full story. I believe in the case of all the issues around MMJ, we needed to be asking harder questions of the lawyer and harder questions of the sheriff. Now, I also knew better than what the sheriff was telling the board at the time that he was telling them. I find it highly unusual that he was able to sit there and say this extension of the time frame from March 1st to a later date is going to be dead. It is dead in the Senate committee. That was not true, and no one who was paying any attention to this issue would have believed that. Any supervisor could have picked up the phone and talked to Jim Wood's office, at Representative Jim Wood or Bonta or any of the representatives who've been working on these bills, and asked them, will this extension of a time frame pass? And will we therefore have another bite at this apple? And is this actually an urgency? It was not an urgency. And even if the board was unsure whether it was an urgency or not, they should not have agreed to an urgency ordinance where they did not understand fully what it would do, where it was not clear that it was actually an urgency, and where they had a huge turnout of people asking a lot of questions they had not yet even asked the lawyer. So I would not have agreed to pass that urgency ordinance.
Thank you. Back to an audience question. What are your thoughts regarding the use or lack of use of tobacco funds by local governments that are currently controlled by the county? And we will go to Heidi.
Tobacco funds that are being collected, I believe this is about the tobacco funds that are being collected at the state level and then distributed to counties for use for their use. They should go to prevention programs. And we could probably extend them to drug prevention programs as well. But that money is been collected for a reason. It should be spent the way it was intended.
Okay, Dwayne.
Yes, I would agree. Tobacco is the number one detrimental, addictive drug that we actually have in society. And I believe that every penny that is set aside from the cigarette pack sales should be going to something related to prevention of tobacco use in our county, not just for the youth, but for the adults also. So yes, I would push to spend as much of that, if not all of that, as possible.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to go back to the to our media. I think it's Alan. I think you're up for a question. Are you up for a question?
Sure, thanks.
Okay.
The Yuba River Charter School is reopening its doors tomorrow to all after a student was found to have measles. Dr. Ken Cutler has said Nevada County has some of the highest rates of unvaccinated residents in the state. What role, if any, does the Board of Supervisors have in the education about and vaccination of the county's children?
Okay, we're going to go to Dwayne first.
Sure. And yes, I think our Public Health Services department here has to take the lead on this. We have to educate our community, and our community, again, is one of the most varied that we have anywhere, not just the state, actually in the country. And there's a big difference between parental choice, between granting our citizens the right to control what they do with their children, versus the rights of the other children and parents in the county that are afraid of exposure to these situations. The county needs to step up. The school district needs to step up. We need to work with both sides. There's, again, no easy answer. The demographic of our county is not going to change. It's always been very unique. It's going to continue to be unique. But again, this situation very specifically put a lot of people at risk. But at the same time, I'm also not willing to take away the rights of the parents of these children. So there is no easy answer. I don't have a solution. I think we need to work with the experts in our public health department and at the state and federal levels to come up with the best win-win answer for this. And there may not be a win-win answer in our community, but we have to do whatever we can to keep this from happening again. I mean, a very, very difficult situation and potentially hazardous situation, and we need to find out how to keep it under control.
Thank you. Heidi.
So yeah, the county health department has the obligation to follow the state's rules and regulations and to follow science. And at this time, there is a common understanding and the rules and regulations that children need to be vaccinated before they're sent to public schools. Charter schools have to deal with the same thing. I understand that there are a number of people in this community who are uncomfortable with that idea and would like the choice not to vaccinate their children. I think that's a fairly dangerous road to go down, but there is room to do that if you want to homeschool your children. I do think there is some work we need to do to look at the vaccines and the vaccine schedules that we're requiring of our children now. It was not an issue for me when my children were born. There were fewer vaccines. I had a lot of faith in the science, and my kids were vaccinated. I felt strongly about that. There is more work to be done to look at the issue of vaccines, but in the meantime, it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we are watching out for the health and safety of our entire community and following the law.
Thank you. Okay, back to an audience question. I haven't been talking, but my voice is going. A previous Board of Supervisors expressed an interest in outsourcing the county library to a commercial profit-making company, to which the public strongly objected. Should such a proposal surface again, I would appreciate your addressing how you would vote. And we'll go to Heidi.
The first thing we always need to do when we talk about outsourcing something is do a proper cost-benefit analysis. And what is often missing in cost-benefit analysis by people who simply want to outsource is the fact that when you ask someone else to run a program for you, you are also losing your brain trust to a contractor who can then get up and walk away tomorrow, and then you have to bring in a new one and train them. So in a proper cost-benefit analysis, you are weighing the long-term costs as well as the short-term costs. And in some cases, outsourcing makes sense, and in some, it doesn't. In terms of our libraries, I can't say right now how I would vote in the future, but our libraries are a precious resource. It's the one place where people can go to get information, use computer services, look for jobs. It helps those people who can't afford to have their own computers, their own, they don't have places to live, they don't have places to go and do this kind of work. I think that's a fundamental part of what our county infrastructure should be supporting.
Okay, thank you. And Dwayne?
Yeah, privatizing or outsourcing some services make sense occasionally, but in my opinion, I'm not typically in favor of that. And specifically in the library, no, I would not be in favor of that. The community is not in favor of it. It's kind of part of the heart of the community. We're losing libraries and other informational and communication services as a society in general. I believe we need to support that, and the community needs to be behind it. That's not something that the profit margin that you make should be part of the decision process of whether or not we keep or support something. It comes down to just doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to Pascal.
County regulation and also state regulation, specifically Code 4290, requires driveways to have a certain clearance, to have enough so that a fire engine can get up on your driveway. But there's also a standard that's called 4291, which applies to county roads, which normally means that county roads should be at least at the same standard than private driveways. Yet there are many, many county-maintained and county-owned roads that do not comply with that standard. Unfortunately, there is no enforcement mechanism to actually apply to 4291. But if elected, what would you do to actually bring county roads up to the standard that you hold private property owners?
Okay, and we'll go to Dwayne first.
Yeah, so the county is very aware of this, so are the cities. We are a historic rural community. It's not going to happen easily or overnight. We don't have the funding for it, quite simple. Talking to Steve Castleberry at Public Works, they're very aware of the improvements that need to be made. Little by little, they're doing their best to peck away at the priority list. It's just, again, it's not an easy thing. There are many of us with homes on roads that the gradient is even too steep for a fire truck to get up. You're not going to take out that mountain. It's not going to happen. That would cost millions of dollars. So we have to do our best, again, to self-patrol the fire-wise communities issue. We have to work with the county, with the cities, to protect ourselves first and foremost. Nobody's going to hold our hand. But the county needs to keep working forward. They have been doing a good job, in my opinion, and I think they'll continue to do that, and looking for further funding sources to make those improvements as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And Heidi?
I believe they can do a better job of that too. I think the issue, the issue of fires is not really on our minds right now. It will be again very soon. And there are several areas where we really need to focus and put more resources. One is the wildland-urban interface, because that is how we're going to protect our cities, our inner cities, the majority of the population. We need to be putting more effort, more resources in that area, and that's a little bit outside of the city. We do need the county to prioritize the main county roads and get on that clearing, and we are going to have to double the Firewise community so that the smaller roads are also being treated as well as the driveways. It's going to become apparent to us. I mean, the money that we've spent cleaning up fires and paying people back for lost homes and trying to help people get back on their feet after all of this in other areas of the Northern California is double, triple, quadruple what it would take to put money into the prevention. So we need to be doing more. Again, we should be working with our state legislators and federal counterparts to try to bring more money into the county to deal with the preventative piece of this.
Thank you. Okay. An audience question, and it is, in your opinion, What is the most critical issue facing Nevada County citizens, and what is your solution? Heidi.
I was waiting for that question.
Were you?
Yes. Nobody's asked what are your top issues. So we started to talk about that. I would have to group the issue of homelessness, mental health issues, and addiction issues into one group that needs to be addressed now. We haven't talked about the drug problem in this county. As someone with a family member who's dealt with drug issues, and I know lots and lots of people who've also dealt with it, or their children are dealing with them, this is something that we're not talking about enough. Opioid addiction is the new epidemic in this country. We're spending an awful lot of time talking about marijuana, a lot less time talking about opioids. These are both prescription drugs, and I'm glad to hear that the hospital is looking at this cures database to start monitoring how much of those are being prescribed. It's also heroin on the street, the cheapest drug you can get, the new gateway drug. This is an issue that affects our children. It's an issue that affects adults. It is part of what is coming into the homeless issue, the co-diagnosis with mental health issues. People get in jail, they're dumped out on the street, there's nowhere to go. They're a drain on our county resources. We need to come up with a plan and get the folks who are all dealing with this to work together and try to find a way to prevent this, to provide more programs for addiction issues, to find more places to put folks with mental health issues, and to work on a plan for housing people.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
We've got so many topics. It's really hard to narrow it down to one. I'm going to have to. That's the question. But between beetle kill issues, which is going to devastate us financially, the way things are going, and the VIR issue in Penn Valley, meaning that we have issues with partnering with our citizens instead of working against our citizens, I would have to agree with Heidi that the biggest topic period facing us right now are mental and substance abuse issues at all ages. It's not just our kids. It's people of all ages. I've seen it directly. We deal with it daily. And again, we spin our wheels constantly. We spend money and time on this. So again, nobody, even the experts that right now that we have employed, both locally, regionally, at the federal level, don't seem to have an easy answer. It's not something that we can get a control of, really. And yes, opioids, it's huge. It's critical. I just went through a presentation, exactly what Heidi said. The heroin situation is hidden. Nobody even knows it's still out there and exists, as well as crack. There are so many things out there that our kids specifically are getting their hands on much, much more cheaply than they can marijuana. We need to get a grip on it. And if that means doubling our social services and our mental and physical health departments, then we've got to do it. We've got to find a way to fund that. I'm not sure where that money is going to come from, but it's got to exist. It's got to happen.
Thank you very much. Steve.
Maybe this would be a chance to embarrass yourselves since you wouldn't do it for Pascal earlier, but how have you personally saved water during the drought? And how do you think Nevada County is doing in saving water, and and just address that county policy as well?
Okay, I think we're at Dwayne to start this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want me to embarrass myself, have you looked at my lawn lately when you walk by the bike shop? We basically, last year, we cut our water use down tremendously, if not almost altogether. We've actually hit all the nurseries here in town, and Christine Davis, out of all people, used to be here with the county. She actually responded to my Facebook post, and she came up with a solution of a very specific type of plant that we are going to put into our front backyards. We're redoing our backyard. It's been a 2-year process, and we decided not to put in piping for sprinklers. We're not going to put in a water system for that. As well as in the house, you'll see us like crazy people when we do dishes. We're walking out with extra bowls after we've washed dishes full that we use to water some of our shrubs and plants instead of running a hose. There is a toilet we are going to be installing that's luckily available here locally, so we can keep our money in town. And it actually has a small sink and faucet on top of the tank cover. So when you're done using the toilet, you can wash your hands on that, and that water goes back into the toilet and refills it with the water. There are some very simple solutions out there at the city level. I didn't do it. I can't take credit for it, but we've had a a trade-in exchange policy where we give a credit to anybody that will upgrade their toilet to a new, more efficient toilet. So I think we all need to step up, and it's the little things that will add up, and we also need to push NID to stick by the state mandates and not relax things. We're not out of the drought yet.
Okay. And Heidi.
I think, Steve, you may want me to be saying I'm only showering once a week or something, but I'm not going to say that. As an environmental professional, saving water and reducing use has been something I've grown up with and raised my kids with. And I happen to be one of the few folks, and I would be one of the few folks on the board who lives out in the woods. I have a well. I have a septic tank. I'm on a gravel road. So my well, taking care of my well, has always been important to me. As the drought went on and we didn't know if we would lose, if the water table would drop or not from one day to the next. So we are always careful about water use in my house. I feel like it's a personal responsibility. I have to take care of my own water, and I do. I want to say also that I'm really proud of this community at how well they've done with the water conservation. From what I can see and hear, everyone has really stepped up and tried to save water. We get this up here. We know that it's important to save our water. The one issue I'd like to have more conversation with NID about, and I've started that conversation, but we need to talk more about it, is the canals. That if they lined the canals, they would be saving tons of water. But those canals also tend to feed people's ponds and sometimes the groundwater that supplies some of the wells' water. So you might just be shifting that problem. But I'd like to have a deeper conversation with NID about that. They need to be doing everything possible as well.
Thank you. Okay. Another audience question. What responsibility does the county have to provide a free gym supervised by a Parks and Recreation Department? And Heidi? Sure. What responsibility does the county have to provide a free gym supervised by the Parks and Recreation Department?
I'm not sure I understand the issue. It sounds like there's a specific issue here, and I don't have the information, and I'm not going to hazard guessing on it.
All right. Okay.
There is no responsibility by the county to provide such a facility, in my opinion. Our communities do so. The county currently has AB 16 money that we put in requests for funding to maintain our facilities, and in exchange, basically, county residents can come and use our pool, Pioneer Park, the Memorial Park. So that's kind of how it works. It would be nice, potentially, to see the county consider a recreation district designation. But my understanding right now, again, looking at the budget forum, there's no money for it. So that burden falls on the communities, on the cities. And we do our best with what we have. It may not be as much as some of the people like. But I can never imagine any municipality having the obligation to provide a gym for free services. That's a quality of life choice. Any of us that go to a gym, we pay our monthly fee, and that's a privatized item. It's not something the government should provide. Although I do believe we provide park services, ballparks, the fields, swimming pools the best that we can, because that's not something that's easily privatized.
Thank you. Okay. On to Alan at the union.
The county authorized $425,000 to outside attorneys in the visually important Ridgeline case before supervisors stopped further funding. In your opinion, how much is too much money to pay attorneys defending the county? How would you have handled this litigation if you were on the board?
Okay, we'll start with Dwayne.
Okay. So let me go back to, and then I will answer the question, but I will go back to saying it's not fair to judge people that are sitting in a position that you have not been in. They were elected to deal with this, and so I have to hope that they do their best. With that stated, I would have done it completely differently. I believe the way that we've done it at the city, the way I've done it at the city, is you sit down with people from the very beginning, face to face, and you try to come up with a win-win solution. These are our residents, and whether they are right or wrong, even if we assume that they were wrong in what they did, to me the county had the obligation, social obligation, to step up and be the bigger person and nip this in the bud right from the beginning. I would still love to see the county, even though I know that they were afraid of a precedent being set, in this specific case, I do not believe that the ridge line in question fit the ideal scope of the VIR. We already had the water tanks on it. We already have a cell tower that came in after the fact. I think there needed to be a better partnership sitting down at the table versus getting the legal folks on both ends involved so quickly. I would still like to think that there's an opportunity to basically solve this quickly, quietly, and personally, to sit down and apologize, even if we think that they were wrong, and to stop this now. Too much money was spent, in my opinion. But again, I wasn't sitting at the table. I'm not going to question that, but I'm not thrilled with what I saw either, with the way that it went down.
Thank you. And Heidi.
This is another place where I would have asked some more hard questions. I have been following this case for a couple of years. I heard both sides of the story from key people numerous times, and I kept waiting to figure out what was the county's angle. Why was the county continuing to contest this? And we're now at the place where our trial has happened. I've read through the transcripts. I've seen some of the memos. And I think we're going to find that there is some astonishing mismanagement happening at the Board of Supervisors level or with the lawyer. There were at least 4 separate issues that were brought to the court, and the county lost on them each time. Yet in the public forums, the boards kept saying, we haven't lost anything, we're continuing to offer mediation. It's pretty clear that the county walked out of mediation at one point without even alerting the other lawyers. There's been some behaviors here that are really unfortunate and have ended up hurting us. The amount of money that's gone into this, not just the $450,000. If the county loses, they're going to have to pay back the money. We're talking about $1 million. The county has also now opened itself up to civil rights violation, in that it was ultimately the issue was a plain vanilla permit that was not issued for lots of reasons that were not valid. The Board of Supervisors has a responsibility to take advice from the lawyer, but to ask hard questions and do their own due diligence before they commit this amount of money of taxpayers' taxes to something like this.
Thank you. Okay, another, audience question. The bicycling master plan seems to have disappeared. What do you envision for the future of bicycle transportation in the county, and how would you bring it about? And we'll start with Heidi.
I believe there are efforts right now happening to put bicycle lanes down along Newtown Road, down the Champion Mine area. Those are going. I have not heard that those are not moving forward. And I think we need to be also looking at trails for people who do not bicycle. This recreation issue for this county is a big one. It's one of the things that draws people up here. There are, I know Dwayne's going to be able to talk at length about what the bike community needs and what's happening there. We also have trails, a number of people who don't choose to bicycle, and who, most of us walk. We walk with our dogs. We walk along the canals. There are numerous trails that are out there that are on the planning, being planned, that being looked at. We could be doing much more to be coming together with a comprehensive plan that addresses trails, bicycle routes, and the like.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yes, I'm very intimate with this. I've been working with the NCTC and the county for years, along with a huge group of local citizens on these topics. And I understand the frustration. I don't believe that the bicycle master plan has disappeared. I believe it's like anything else in government. Things take much longer than most of us would like to see. We go through kind of highs and lows, ebbs and flows. And the Newtown plan, the Highway 49 corridor was widened last year after years of struggling between Old Downeyville Highway and the Willow. It's made it much more safer to get out to those corridor connectors as far as Newtown and the Cement Hill corridor. It's actually happening. I mean, Tricia Tillotson, City of Grass Valley, Bob Richardson, they've done an amazing job. We do updates every 2 weeks with them on what's going on. They call into the radio show regularly. Richard Anderson up in Truckee has made some huge improvements in Truckee. He's been very proactive. both road and off-road. We have trails that we've tried to do on Sugarloaf, and eventually that will happen, I hope, that will connect going basically east and west, as well as back to Grass Valley. We're looking at the Loma Rica property project. Again, that's not our place to speak as Nevada City Council people, but I've been involved in the bicycle side where we are working with that family trust through the city of Grass Valley. There's a standing offer to basically take the open space on the hillside up to the NID Canal where mountain bike and walking multi-use trails already exist. So we have a lot of room to grow and a lot of improvement to make quickly, but I believe there's good work being done.
Thank you. Okay. Back to the media. And Pascal.
Let's stay a little bit with recreation. So the Nevada County, the county itself does not have a park or recreation department. It also does not have any facilities that are available for art groups. Do you think that the county should do more to support groups that provide recreational opportunities for Nevada County, and do you think that there's actually an obligation by the county to, say, support, I don't know, Land Trust or Center for the Arts, because they are providing services that the county is not providing?
Dwayne?
Yes, so I believe it is the responsibility of the county or any municipality to foster in every way, shape, or possible our quality of life within the budgets that they have. Going to the countywide arts forum in Grass Valley last year, it was very obvious that Truckee is trying to expand all of our nonprofits, Music in the Mountains, Center for the Arts, our Foundry. They're all struggling, and they're constantly struggling for funding. Most of it has to come through private grants, through foundations. Yes, I would love to see a way that we at the county level can find funding here locally to take that burden off and to not just maintain what we have, but to grow what we want. And I think that's a big reason a lot of us live here. We have an amazing community, both recreationally and in the performing and visual arts. But many of them are struggling. We've lost many of them. We've seen that. Foothill Theater Company. I would love to see a way for the county to step up and find funding one way or another from our budget to actually to foster and build that.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
kind of a little bit of two separate issues. One is the recreation issue, and I've heard two sides of this story. That there are people who would like the county to step in and create a recreation district and do more, be more involved in the trails and recreation facilities here. I've also heard people who say, no, we're doing a pretty good job without the county adding another level of bureaucracy. Let's continue to support the Land Trust and other agencies out there who are already doing a really good job. So I would want to have that conversation continue before making any kind of a decision about further bureaucracy on this issue. In terms of supporting all of our effort, all of our activities out there, like recreation, like arts, I think also we have to look at the economic, there's the value to our lifestyle. We love what we have up here, and it's an attractive place for people to come. So we bring tourist dollars in by having great facilities and great events up here. And I think we can also make the economic case when we look at the multiplier effect. For example, of the arts, $1 spent by a tourist coming through here for a show ends up bringing $4 more into the economy. It's the same thing with recreation dollars. We could do some economic analyses and look at where we could be bringing more money in, stretching our dollars farther by adding county funds to the nonprofit funds that are already out there. And I'm fully in favor of doing that.
Thank you. Okay. Audience question. Would you support a ban on smart meters in the county? And can you explain the concerns of those opposed to them? Heidi.
No, I would not support a ban on smart meters. I have a smart meter. It works great. I understand that there are people who have concerns about the health effects of smart meters, and I also understand that you can swap it out if you don't want to have it on your home, and I think that's a fully functional way to handle it.
Thank you. And Dwayne?
Boy, this is a topic that a lot of us have been in the middle of because we have a very concerned group of our citizens that are anti-smart meter and believe in health and wellness issues related to that. It's not something that I personally have had an issue with, but I believe, again, those folks have, again, every right to be heard fairly and cleanly. We have tried to work with a couple of groups here locally, but we have businesses. We have Chris at California Organics. What we found is that, yes, you can opt out under a lot of stress and cost on your home to get out of the smart meter. I volunteered to test that system out when we were dealing with a group of city council. It took me 8 months. It took a lot of money. We're paying more per month to do that. And then found out that I could not remove my business from it. So the bike shop isn't necessarily hit as hard by that. But Cal Organics, a Briar Patch type, they have a high demographic of their customers that actually believe there's detriment. And so it's only fair that Chris should be able to opt out with PG&E as a business and make that choice on his own. So I am not in favor personally of banning smart meters countywide, but I absolutely believe it's the right of every individual and every business owner to opt out if they so choose.
Thank you very much. Back to the media and to Steve.
A recent Board of Supervisors adopted a public gathering ordinance covering marriage receptions and parties and things like that. Do you think it's been good policy, or would you want to look at changing it?
Dwayne?
Well, I personally am on the record as not being in favor of that when it was presented. I was one of the individuals that spoke up, and I'm not usually comfortable doing that as a council person from the city to the county. But a large group of our event providers came forward. We had several meetings. I believe it could have been done differently. I believe it needs to be relooked at. But the fact is, it's always that small group of bad apples that spoils it for everybody else. And we had many homeowners that were running small events, weddings, that type of gathering, anniversaries, and doing it very quietly and very cleanly. I have no problem with that. But we had a couple of properties that abused it tremendously. And we had their neighbors dealing with music at 2 or 3 in the morning. We had garbage issues, parking, traffic issues, parking on a rural road, which did not allow fire access if something were to happen. So I do get that side of it also, but I believe that it could have and should have been done differently, and it's something that, yes, I would like to revisit down the line.
Thank you. And Heidi?
Yes, this is another one of those issues where I think if you're carrying a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And rather than deal with the 1 or 2 bad actors that were clearly out there, the board decided to simply institute an ordinance that ended up punishing the good actors as well. We're seeing this with medical marijuana. This is one of those places where leadership is important. Identify the problem people, make sure there's code enforcement happening there, and continue to work to have an ordinance that works for the majority of the people who are running legitimate, well-run businesses. I think another way to look at that is that we have to see how it's working. I've had a long conversation with someone who sought me out to say they went in to get one of these permits, and they were simply shunted from one department to another department to another department. As far as she could tell, there was no way to get a permit, which would explain why there have been no permits issued at all right now. So there's clearly some issues that need to be looked at. Anytime, again, to harken back to the winery owners I spoke to out on 174, anytime you're going to put an ordinance in place, provide what some people call government overreach, you want to make sure that you're getting at the right people and that you're not punishing the good business people for a couple of bad actors. So this is definitely one of those ordinances that needs to be revisited.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going on to, we're going to an audience question. Okay. What do you bring to this office that is different from your opposing candidate? And we'll start with Heidi.
Thank you for that. I think there's quite a few things that I bring that would be a great benefit to this board, and I'll go back to what I talked about a little bit at the beginning, that I've spent 2 decades plus working on international issues, national, local, tribal issues. My job involves bringing people together, people of opposing interests, to find common ground to move forward. Specifically, right now, I'm working with farmers, with environmentalists, and with flood engineers to make sure that we institute a flood safety program in this state, that we increase our flood safety by rebuilding levees, while protecting the habitat that there's only 5% of left along our streams, at the same time that we don't take too much land from the farmers. These are really intractable, difficult issues. This is what I do for a living. I understand that reaching across the aisle and creating common ground involves asking hard questions, knowing where you come from, respecting the other person's point of view, but basing it on facts. I bring this expertise to everything I do, both in my job with the state and in my work with the nonprofits and groups in town. I think making sure that we see a pro and a con for every issue, for example, on the water issues on the MMJ, as well as on the business issues, rather than simply looking at one side of one piece of the enforcement, is a policy issue that comes naturally to me. We look at the pros and cons of everything, we weigh both sides, and we're very, very careful about using a heavy governmental hand.
Thank you. Okay. And Dwayne?
Yes, I would simply say experience as an elected official. Actually being in the trenches, dealing with all the topics on a regular basis, sitting, I hate to say the word dais, but sitting at the table, looking at an audience in which you have neighbors, friends, sometimes family on both sides of a topic and having to make a hard decision is what it takes, and you have to deal with it. It's having knowledge of all the different departments and how they work. It's sitting on commissions on a regular basis and seeing what we have to deal with our solid hazardous waste out in the Courtney and what the residents out there deal with. Dealing with recycling, dealing with the different agencies such as PG&E and Comcast that we actually trust our quality of life to as outside providers. We have very little control in many cases over these folks. The water issues are huge with the drought. NID, people don't realize that in our water district, 54% plus or minus of our water actually goes down to Placer County. Very few people even know that our district includes Loomis and Lincoln in those areas, and the water's flowing southbound. And yet we're up here again struggling to maintain our own water services. So basically, I think I bring knowledge, trust as far as doing this job. People have seen years of what I've done. There's nothing to hide, and basically you'll vote based on my track record. It's that simple.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one more question before we go into closing statements. So that will be from Alan at the Union.
The meetings of the Board of Supervisors are always during the day, typically starting around 9 or 10 a.m., making it difficult for people who have jobs, young families, to attend those meetings. Do you have any thoughts on changing the time of those meetings to afternoon or night? Is that even feasible considering the length of some of those meetings?
And we'll go to Dwayne.
Yeah, so the end of your question is what hits that topic. So at the city council level, we do evening meetings, and in many cases, we end up having to cut the meeting short before we've actually addressed all the different topics because we can't have people there until midnight, including the council members. Most of us still work. We've got families. We've got kids in the house. But at the same time, I agree that a Tuesday morning meeting to me is not the ideal time. I would trust, again, that the county staff, they have many staffers here that have to support those meetings. It's just not the 5 supervisors up here at the dais. You've got a huge amount of support staff behind the scenes that would be affected by that decision also. And that also could mean paying them additional or overtime to be here. So that's another taxpayer issue. I don't know why the decision was made specifically to have it during a daytime, a workday meeting, but I think everything should be done to encourage and allow community members to be at every meeting and to voice their opinion. So yes, I would at least be questioning or asking if there are other options.
Thank you. And Heidi.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's one I think a lot of communities struggle with as well. And it does reflect the fact that I think at this point a lot of the members of the Board of Supervisors are retired or are running their own home businesses and have huge flexibility. But we need to bring in the younger voices of working people whose children are in school, who are working daytime hours, and give them an opportunity to attend more of these meetings. I don't know how that's done either, but I would want to look at it. There are a few other things that the board could do to make it easier as well, which is get the agenda out earlier, get supporting information out earlier. There's a whole lot of issues around transparency that would make it easier for people in the community to at least keep up in advance of the meetings and also follow on what was decided. I'm an advocate of sunshine when it comes to government programs, and the more we can do to bring the public in and get information out to the public afterwards, the better we'll be.
Thank you very much. We're going to go into closing statements now. We started with Dwayne. We're going to start with Heidi on these. They'll have 2 minutes for closing statements.
Thank you for this forum. Thank you, all of you, for coming out and staying and asking a lot of really good questions. Those of you who know me and have seen me out talking to people for 4 years at least since I've been running in the last campaign and this one, you know that my passion, my drive, my work ethic are all things that would be well served by putting me on the Board of Supervisors. You know that I always look at both sides of the issues. I have long experience of doing that. I look at the facts, I look at the science, listen to people. I think it's very important that we make sure we are listening to everyone and taking into account the issues that they are seeing in their homes, on their land. I would like to see a more proactive board. I would like to see leadership. I would like to see the board step up and ask some harder questions and make sure they have all the facts before they take big actions that affect the community in big ways. I would like to see them call on the experts in the community to speak to their expert issues rather than simply depend on the same 3 or 4 other elected officials who they've been calling in over and over again. This is what I can bring to the board. I am not afraid of speaking up at all on any issue at any time. It's what I do. The older I get, the easier that gets for me. The more I see my kids struggle, the easier it gets for me. You can count on me to bring your issues up, whether they're popular or not. You can count on me to sit down and listen to you, and you can count on me to follow my values and my heart when I take votes. I will not tell you I will vote one way and then not. I will not sign contracts or make sure, commit my agency to a contract that before the fact that needs to be then vetted after the fact. I have integrity in my dealings with government agencies and with people, and you can count on me to bring that to this position as well. I'd love to have your vote.
Thank you. And Dwayne.
Yes, so I don't have this scripted. I'm simply going to say that I trust and hope that people have seen my past actions, both at the chamber level, the board, at city council level, as mayor, interacting with the county on various commissions and committees, and speaking up on behalf of the community members, being very transparent about everything I do, that I would actually do a great job at this. I believe that we do need a change, and it's going to happen. That's not a detrimental statement on the way the board has been in the past. Again, they work hard, but I think that it's time for a different direction, and I think that's going to happen this June regardless of who is put into this position. So I'm simply asking for your vote based on knowledge, trust, experience in dealing with not just the 3 or 4 hot topics, but all of the other topics that go into daily quality of life and the services that the citizens not just expect, but demand. So thank you again for coming tonight. We appreciate your time, and look forward to the next couple months. It's going to be a fun spring for all of us.
Thank you. And thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Our candidates did an exceptional job tonight, but your questions were equally exceptional. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for being so attentive to our candidates. And please, remember, we have more forums coming up. We have on the 14th, a week from tonight, we have an issues forum that's going to be at the Nevada City Council. It will be a forum on Measure Y. Thank you. It will be on Measure Y. It will be at 6:30. So please be sure and go and listen to that one. On the 18th is our State Senate District 1 forum that will be held right here, 6:30. Candidates for State Senate are Ted Gaines, incumbent, Stephen Baird, and Rod Rowan. On Thursday, the 28th of April, we have the Nevada County Board of Supervisors District 2 forum, and that's going to be at the Higgins-Diggins Lions Club. Ed Schofield, incumbent, and Richard Harris. And on Thursday, May 5th, right here, Congressional District 1, candidates Doug LaMalfa, incumbent, Jim Reed, Joe Montez, Jeff Gerlich, Gregory Cheadle, Gary Allen Oxley, and David Peterson. All forums begin at 6:30. But the most important thing is, ladies and... Is everyone quiet? A lot of people are trying to listen to this. Please, until we're through. The important thing is that you vote on June 7th. And keep our candidates in mind, listen to what they said, and vote in an informed way. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I didn't have that. I would have asked another question.
I'll get them. Oh, yeah. Oh, Leo has one.
Still here. Looks like it. You're not keeping your mouth shut.
Oh, no.
Ever.
Oh, the original is so mad.
Oh, I have a feeling I have sent it to you, but they won't talk, they won't send it public or on the forum. So I'm sure I have a crowd that hates me, but at least they're not public.
Did you ever find Janice? No. I didn't see her here. I can visualize it, but I can't. Her face is I didn't see anybody with dark hair.
You know what, I'm just going to call her and say, I'd like to meet you.
I have for you. And I sent it to Sharon.
Can't get those
My dad did.
I always think I buy the Sharon's.
I would say it.
The other issue, I'm trying to get it together. Now they have all these.
Yeah, I felt like one of those irresponsible neighbors. What can you do?
I'm glad this is over. I was surprised to see that. I didn't think it was going to be hard.
Well, ERC, there's several things going on tonight.
Free and online friend that has a secret background.
I know. As always.
Get it now.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. I think I got it all.
What's these things here?
Oh, I was going to take out on the table or something.
This afternoon, because I was thinking that, and I got this phone call from the regional organizer.
Because our senator doesn't want to show up.
I don't see it on here. I see Congressional District 1. Oh, it means Doug LaMalfa?
I got well water.
Yeah, I don't see it on here.
Yeah,
Where am I
I'm sick of
not?
being in chronic pain all the time,
Ted
nonstop.
Deems doesn't want to show up.
If you know,
It was a shaky beginning.
Already made the
Well, I just read, somebody just sent me a message that he was not going to be here.
Sean, you're always welcome to come by.
There will be 6 people. 7 with the whole And so, yeah, we're going to have a forum.
I'm keeping it.
Absolutely. And somebody also said that.
You gotta get your number. Email me
Yeah,
your
I'll
number.
go contact y'all. We're friends now. You accepted my friendship fine.
Well, I think,
There are 3 people.
for me, Facebook is personal. I get personal.
We are going, yeah, and people will hear them, and they may regret
Everything
not
I say on
coming.
Facebook, I would send. That's
Yeah, I had trouble with it.
why I can help my brother.
It got easy.
To be honest.
It doesn't, but you never know what might make a difference.
Came out that
And that's what Lamar
you're gay.
No, I came out and
There's a hole in there somewhere.
Are you gay?
How'd you do? Did you like it?
That's a she. How come we never see her?
Yeah, I only spaced out a couple times.
How old are you? Oh, you nasty
Work all day.
Is this going with you?
I got hit by a paper. I didn't sew your things. Okay, I want to I'll talk to you later. Okay. I should.
Well, you already have.
Somebody else mentioned that to me, so I don't really, I'm not involved in that part, but I remember somebody mentioning to me the same thing, why do they have an outsider? And when I
I couldn't get an appointment with a new urologist in Auburn until May 24th. The doctor I was referred to was Roseville. Didn't take Roseville, Rockville.
I have a friend who goes to shop a day that he was referred to a doctor in the city. He doesn't drive, so I spend all day taking him to the city. And I dropped him off inside of the wrong building. And I went in and I referred to another building. I drove down to that one. That one was better than this one. And then I drove up the wrong side of the street for quite a while. Said, no, it's over if you oppose it. This is Yuba City. I never been there. I've never been down that street before. So it was that was just people that are involved. But anyway, the doctor referred me to so I don't understand.
A female urologist in Roseville, and she will not take that medication. She will only take Roseville and Rockville medication.
I don't see why. But you're right. I did hear about that.
Well, it was. Yeah. So I was referred to an Auburn urologist, and I can get to Auburn on education. When I worked for a volunteer agency, we were on education street, so I know how to get there, and that's reasonable to get to. No. Yeah. And so anyhow, the woman who called me to make the appointment.
Forgot about that one.
Did you bring that
No, I would be. You're setting that up as a whole other voter service group. I know you made it. But I think I'll bring that, I'm on that committee. I will bring that. I will, okay, okay. Well, you know, I was missing a bunch of these for a long time, and so I cut down cake boxes to make more.
Oh, did you? Is that what those are?
Some of them are.
How do you get those?
Oh, I don't. I simply peel this off. Well, I'm not going to peel
Oh, I
this.
see what you've done. Okay.
I use rubber cement.
Gotcha. Okay. Go, 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 go.
This is an old one. Rubber cement. And I just tear
And
them
you
off.
just paste it back on?
Well, I just found all the missing cards in the box.
Very good. Good girl. Thank you. You're
I got them. I left a few. Oh yeah, water. I don't need water either.
So anyhow, I told her, you know, what my problem was, the woman who called the office, and she also told me that, you know, the referral was sent up there because the Roseville doctor didn't say about city people. And I told her what my problems were, and she said, well, we had a lot of folks living with that problem, and he was pretty good with it. So all Dr. Harris said was, well, when you get up at night, walk your hall for a while, and then you'll empty your bladder more. My hall is 7.5 feet by 8 feet. What am I supposed to do? Stand there and go like this for 5 minutes? And then his only other suggestion was to drink 2 or 3 glasses of water in the morning. That's all his suggestion.
And no more later.
No, he didn't say that.
Oh, well, you stick to water at night. Of course, you never do that.
Well, but when I'm taking Physiac C, I have to take it once in the morning and once at night. So I can. And that's an anti-cancer thing. Well, I told her. And Dr. Bannister said,